would say, surprise, surprise, some Bigfoot sightings in Wintergreen have been debunked.
This 10-foot bank with one step into the middle of the road, except that it was more ape-like in the face. And he said that it kind of stopped and he could hear it breathing. He was close enough.
Just now, a special ops team followed what they thought was Bigfoot deep into the forests of Alaska. But things didn't go as planned. Stepping out of their truck, they smelled something weird and decided to explore. This started their thrilling adventure into the wilds of Alaska, testing them like never before. Before we get started, brace yourself because what happened next is more startling than anyone expected, and it's just the beginning of what turned their mission upside down. Nature's gaze. As he stepped out of his vehicle and started to follow them on foot, an odd smell filled the air. Curious, he decided to check it out. When he rounded a corner on the logging trail, he saw something strange. A creature, which he described as massive, leaped down from a 10-foot-high bank with ease. This marked the start of an unforgettable experience in the wilds of Alaska, where he and his team would be pushed to their very limits. He didn't know it yet, but this was just the start of a discovery that would change their whole understanding of the wild. This wasn't just any ordinary place. In this part of the world, nature has total control, and every step forward felt like they were being watched. It was as if the wilderness itself was keeping an eye on them. They moved cautiously, knowing they were in unfamiliar and potentially dangerous territory. This adventure, tracking what many believed to be Bigfoot, would lead them deep into Alaska's untamed wilderness. They would soon realize this was no simple journey. Now, searching for creatures like Bigfoot isn't a new idea. People have been fascinated by the idea of mysterious beings for centuries. From Europe's tales of vampires and werewolves to North America's legends of Bigfoot, people have traveled far and wide hoping to discover these creatures. Some might laugh off these quests as silly fantasies, but there are always those who refuse to give up. They're determined to uncover the truth, no matter how elusive these creatures may be. In the cold winter of 1994, a special team was out in the wilderness, taking part in what was supposed to be just a routine training exercise. They were prepared for anything nature might throw at them. However, what they didn't expect was to be faced with something they had only heard about in legends: Bigfoot. This encounter happened during a time when sightings were more frequent, particularly in states like Oregon, Kentucky, and Washington. The mission started with a clear goal in mind. The team was there to practice their advanced surveillance skills, how to sneak into an area without being noticed, gather information, and then leave without a trace. But everything changed when they stumbled upon something that sent them hurrying back to their base. They knew right away this was not going to be an ordinary mission anymore. They had been well prepared for the harsh environment. With cross-country skis to help them move across the snow and heavy backpacks filled with tents, food, and warm clothing, they felt ready for anything. They planned to start in Fairbanks and make their way east, passing the boundary of Ison Air Force Base. The terrain was tough, with steep ridges, deep valleys, swamps, and thick forests along the way. But things took a turn when they entered a particularly dense forest. Miles, the team leader, knew the stakes were high. He understood the importance of knowing the land inside out. In that moment, he had to make a decision. Should they push through the dense underbrush or find a safer way around? This choice wasn't just about finding the best path, it was about keeping everyone safe. In the middle of these careful decisions, something completely unexpected happened. The team came face to face with the creature. At first, Miles thought it was a bear, but when he got a better look, he realized this was something entirely different. The creature looked like an ancient man, but with more ape-like features. This sighting sent the team into immediate retreat, racing back to their base with the unsettling knowledge that what they had seen was no ordinary animal. As they trudged through the snow, the team came across something that stopped them in their tracks. They found footprints so large and far apart that it left them speechless. Each footprint was about 18 to 19 inches long, with a stride about 5 feet wide. It was clear right away that these tracks weren't made by any human. One of the team members even tried to copy the huge steps, but ended up sinking knee-deep into the snow, which only made the situation more unbelievable. The question on everyone's mind was, what kind of creature could make such enormous footprints? This creature, they guessed, must be moving through the deep snow with an ease that seemed almost unreal. As the team stood there staring at the prints, they felt a mix of awe and respect for the power of whatever had left them behind. It was clear this was no ordinary animal. They quickly called over their sergeant, who was known for his tracking skills, to get his opinion. After a close look, the sergeant agreed. Based on the size of the footprints, he estimated that the creature could be about 9 feet tall and weigh somewhere between 500 to 700 pounds. Hearing these numbers made everyone stop for a moment. They were dealing with something far larger than any human or animal they had ever encountered. This realization made the team even more determined to follow the trail and learn more about this mysterious being. As they moved forward, they started to piece together how the creature was able to move through the snowy landscape so skillfully, managing to stay out of sight. The trail led along ridges and natural paths, showing that this creature was familiar with the land and smart about how it traveled. It was almost like the creature knew how to avoid being seen, just like the team had been trained to move quietly and avoid detection. This only deepened their curiosity and respect for the creature. It wasn't just strong and large, it was clever. The more they followed the trail, the more they wanted to understand it. They weren't just hunting something unknown, they were on a journey to learn how it survived in such a harsh environment. As they tracked the creature, there were moments when it seemed to stop and look back, as if it was aware of being followed. This added a new layer of mystery. Miles, the team leader, became even more determined to prove this creature existed. It wasn't just about finding it now. It was about understanding something that could change what they knew about wildlife. However, they soon faced a new challenge. The snow was becoming thicker, making it harder for them to move forward. Even though they were well prepared with skis and snowshoes, the deep snow slowed them down. But they pressed on, knowing they had come too far to turn back now. Hours passed as they followed the trail, but as the daylight began to fade, they realized they had to stop. Reluctantly, they decided to set up camp and rest, knowing that continuing in the dark wasn't safe. That night, as they gathered around the campfire, the excitement of the day still buzzed through the team. They talked about the creature, sharing ideas about what it could be and how it had managed to stay hidden for so long. There was a sense of adventure in the air as they discussed their plans for the next day. They all felt the thrill of being so close to something unknown. Just when they thought they knew the wilderness, strange sounds changed everything. Night whispers. By 9 or 10 in the evening, the night was calm and the team was sound asleep. Everything stayed quiet until about 4 in the morning when Miles was suddenly woken up by a strange loud sound that broke the stillness of the night. This sound wasn't something Miles had heard before. It was a deep, echoing howl that seemed to fill the air. At first, he thought it might be a wolf since they were deep in the Alaskan wilderness, but this howl was different. It was much deeper and almost too powerful, suggesting that something far bigger was out there. This wasn't an ordinary animal sound, it carried a strange weight, like it came from a large, unknown creature nearby. Now wide awake, Miles listened carefully, trying to pick up more clues about what was making that noise. The howling stopped for a moment, only to start again about 15 minutes later. This time it was even closer, and Miles could feel his concern grow. The howl was faint at first but quickly got louder, bringing a sense of fear that something dangerous was getting closer to their camp. As the leader of the team, Miles knew it was his job to keep everyone safe. He hoped the sound might just be a wolf, but he couldn't shake the idea that it could be something much worse, like a bear. The thought of disturbing a hibernating bear in the middle of winter made him uneasy. If that were the case, they could be facing a serious threat, one much bigger than they had prepared for. But this wasn't the worst part. Just as these unsettling thoughts filled his mind, the howling stopped again. This time, the noise was coming from about 100 feet away, which was dangerously close. The sudden quiet that followed was even scarier than the howling. It felt as if the air itself had become still, and that eerie silence made every sense sharper. Miles's mind raced as he tried to figure out what to do next, knowing they had to be ready for anything. The rest of the team, now awake from the strange sounds, began to realize the seriousness of the situation. The silence stretched on, making everyone more tense. Even the small breeze that had been blowing earlier had completely stopped. In the absolute quiet, every little noise felt loud, and each crackle of the campfire or rustle of the trees could have been the creature moving closer. The team sat in the darkness, waiting and wondering what might be out there. Miles stayed on high alert. Even though the howling had stopped, he was sure that whatever had made the sound was still nearby, maybe watching them from the shadows. The fact that the creature wasn't making any more noise only made it more frightening. It felt like the creature was being careful, perhaps sizing them up just as they were trying to figure out what it was. The standoff seemed to last forever, with the team trapped in this moment of intense focus, surrounded by the dark forest. The still air and complete lack of natural sounds made the atmosphere feel thick with suspense. They couldn't help but wonder if they were being stalked by something unknown, something that could appear at any moment. The date was August 20th, 1992, and this moment marked a key point in his ongoing search for these mysterious beings. He had been driving home later than usual that evening when he made a quick decision to visit a familiar spot, hoping to find fresh tracks from the creature. When he got there, he immediately spotted large footprints near the edge of the water. Excited by the discovery, he rushed to get his video camera to capture evidence of what he had found. Little did he know that the creature had also noticed him and was likely watching him from the shadows, planning its next move. As the night wore on, Miles and a few of his team members stayed awake, keeping watch while the others slept. They could hear the loud rustling noises of something moving nearby, just out of sight, keeping its distance. As the tension built up, more of the team woke up, disturbed by the strange sounds. They stepped out of their tents, trying to figure out what was causing the noise that had disturbed their quiet night. Suddenly, the rustling stopped, and the forest went completely silent. Even the usual sounds of crickets and frogs were gone, which only made the situation feel even stranger. But this wasn't the worst part. The silence was soon shattered by a deep, haunting howl that turned into a loud, terrifying roar. It echoed through the trees, sounding almost like a scream. This bone-chilling sound stirred up a deep fear in the group, making it clear that their encounter with this creature was far from over. They hadn't brought live ammunition, as their mission was meant to be peaceful, but now they felt vulnerable and unprepared for what could happen next. As the situation grew more serious, the team began to talk about whether they should leave. Without proper weapons, they felt powerless, and staying any longer seemed like a risk they couldn't afford to take. But as they discussed their options, they were startled by another alarming sound, the creaking and snapping of a massive tree being pulled from the ground. In the early light of dawn, they saw the tops of the trees shaking violently. Then, with a loud crack, another tree fell, crashing to the ground. It was a clear sign that this creature had incredible strength and was capable of causing real damage. The team now knew that their fears weren't just in their heads. Something powerful and dangerous was out there, and it was much closer than they had ever imagined. As dawn neared, the team decided to leave, spurred by the night's haunting events, packing up the past. The team understood that it was time to leave the area, even though dawn was still several hours away. Being deep in the Alaskan wilderness made the situation feel even more urgent. They quickly started packing their gear, knowing they couldn't afford to wait much longer. As Miles gathered his things, a memory came back to him. He remembered a story his father once told him about a frightening encounter in the woods. His father, who was usually calm and brave, had been so shaken by the experience that Miles saw fear in his eyes for the first time. That story and the way his father spoke of it convinced Miles that Bigfoot might be real. Now, here in the wild, that old belief felt even more real as he faced his own fear. It was still winter and full daylight was hours away, but the team couldn't wait any longer. They knew they had to leave soon. Before they set off, though, Miles and a few others decided to investigate the strange sounds they had heard during the night. What they found made their hearts race. More large footprints surrounded their campsite, the same type they had seen the day before. It was clear that the creature had been pacing near them, maybe even watching them while they slept. The team also noticed something even more disturbing. A large pine tree, about 12 inches thick, had been snapped in half at about 35 feet high. It looked like the tree had been broken with great force, and the footprints around it suggested that the creature was responsible. Seeing this level of strength up close made the team even more anxious. They were in no way prepared to face a creature capable of such power. As they took in these unsettling signs, the team's fear grew. The idea that they had been so close to something so large and powerful during the night made the decision to leave even more urgent. They knew they weren't equipped to handle a direct encounter with this creature, especially since they had no weapons that could protect them if things went wrong. Staying any longer felt too risky. Miles had another concern on his mind. What would happen if word got out about their encounter? He didn't want to cause any panic or draw unnecessary attention to their mission. His main goal was to keep his team safe and to stay focused on their work without any distractions. He believed that talking too much about what they had experienced would only make things worse, and he didn't want rumors to spread. So, Miles made a decision. He told the team to stay quiet about what had happened during the night. He wanted everyone to keep calm and stay professional, even though they had just been through something extraordinary. The team agreed. They understood the importance of staying focused, and they trusted Miles's judgment. Some things they knew were better left unspoken, especially when there was so much at risk. With a shared understanding of the danger they had faced, the team quietly left the campsite. They knew they were leaving behind something powerful in the wilderness, but they didn't want to provoke it by staying any longer. As they finished their mission 2 nights later, they all chose to keep their experiences to themselves. They didn't want to overshadow the success of their operation with stories about the unknown. Of course, the team still whispered among themselves, trying to make sense of what they had seen and heard. Some believed it might have been Bigfoot, but they knew better than to jump to conclusions without solid evidence. They decided it was best to wait until they had undeniable proof before saying anything more. This cautious approach came from their respect for the wilderness and their acknowledgement that there were limits to what they knew. Their experience highlighted the unpredictable and sometimes dangerous nature of working in the Alaskan wilderness. As they moved through the dense forest, they were constantly reminded of how close they were to the unknown. Their mission had been challenging enough because of the harsh landscape, but now they realized that something mysterious had been watching them the entire time. Looking back, Miles and the others saw their decision to stay quiet as the right one. It allowed them to focus on their mission and kept the team from being overwhelmed by fear. It was a clear reminder that the wilderness is vast, wild, and filled with things we don't fully understand. Sometimes the best way to respect the unknown is to leave it alone. The team's silent agreement to let the forest be was a way of showing their respect for nature and the mysteries it holds. In the end, they all felt a deep sense of awe for the wilderness they had just experienced. It wasn't just the trees, the snow, or the cold that made the Alaskan wild so powerful. It was the sense that there were still things out there, things beyond their understanding. And sometimes it's better to leave those mysteries untouched. Thanks for watching. Could they have really encountered Bigfoot, or is there another explanation? Like, comment your thoughts and subscribe for more intriguing content.